Approximately 81 years ago, one of the most profound literatures or books was written. The book has sold about 100 million copies worldwide, and the title of the book, more specifically the first word in the title of the book, provides an insight to the success key we're going to be talking about today. That book was written by Napoleon Hill, and it's called Think and Grow Rich. The success key we're going to be talking about in today's session is thinking. I believe that one of the most important things you're going to have to get good at if you want to be successful is the ability to think, and not just any form of thinking, critical thinking. What is critical thinking? Well, in order for you to distinguish yourself from the rest of the pack, in order for you to elevate your life and your success to whatever level you want, you must be able to apply a principle that I called critical thinking. This simply means that in a way you must see yourself the way you would be expected to behave if you were part of a debate team. Now think about this. Way back, if you were part of a debate team and you had been given perhaps a topic that you were going to be debating on, your debate coach would come up to the team, perhaps yourself, and say, you've been selected and this is the topic you're going to be debating about. But they don't provide you with any clue as to whether you're going to be debating for or whether you're going to be debating against the topic. And therefore, you were responsible for ensuring that you prepared diligently so that you could defend either side of the argument. Scott Fitzgerald has a saying that I love. He said that the first sign of first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposing ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. In other words, every coin has three sides, and your ability to think critically is demonstrated in what I call the flexibility in you being able to stand on the third side of the coin, which is called the edge, and be able to look at both sides of the coin, both sides of the argument, and still come up with a logical conclusion to what you believe is the right thing to do. I believe thinking is something we haven't really been taught how to do, and therefore success eludes a lot of people simply because we don't know how to think. From my experience, there's a very simple way to begin the process. If you talk to anyone you know, very few people can tell you logically how to think intelligently and how to think critically. The best way to do this is simply by questions. If you can get what I call a significant question, that serves as what I call the launching pad upon which you start to think. The quality of the questions you ask determines how useful your thinking process would be. And in many cases, you don't always have to be too concerned about coming up with a genius question. Just start with whatever question you have and keep evolving and keep asking questions. One of the habits I have is the habit of waking up every day and first thing in the morning is to just sit down and ask myself about 10 different questions in various areas of my life and write down the answers, as many answers as I can to those questions. It's profound. I think it's life-changing. You might probably want to try it if you don't do it already. But what it does for you, it helps you focus your mind. By asking a question, you're taking your focus away from all the various thoughts that you might be thinking about during the day and narrowing it down to one single point of reference. And from there, what you find is solutions start to come to you. Answers start to come to you. And that is what leads to success. Now, remember the book I talked about at the start, Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill had interviewed about 500 of the wealthiest men in the United States. And he wanted to find out what was the key to their success. He interviewed all of them, the likes of Andrew Carnegie, who was the wealthiest man back in the early 1900s. He interviewed the likes of Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Bridgestone, a lot of very successful people. And they gave their principles, and he captured all those principles into 13 different headings. And he called those the laws of success. It was printed in a book called Think and Grow Rich. And so your ability to think is one of the most important decisions you're going to have to make consistently if you want to remain successful, but also if you want to become successful. Let's make this practical. Let's pick a category of your life that you want to improve, you want to become more successful about. Let's say relationships. Do you know that if you sat down for about 2 minutes every day and asked yourself a simple question, what do I have to do to make this relationship better than it was yesterday? It's a very simple question. What do I have to do to make my relationship better than it was yesterday? If you can just journal 3 or 4 different answers, and if you can discipline yourself to act on those answers, what you find is every day you will be successful in your relationship, because every day you'll be growing. Think about your business. You're thinking about, okay, I want to generate more sales in business. I want to generate more revenue. Most people ask the wrong question. Simply focus in your thought process to the right question, such as, what do I have to do in my business on a consistent basis to ensure that my customers are successful? Not you. Take the focus away from you and say, the customers, what do I have to do to increase the value I provide to my customers? That's a profound question that you might ask. So critical thinking is one of the most important things you have to understand for success. In any area of life, the quality of your thinking determines the quality of your results and the quality of your success. If you pick the areas such as wealth creation or investing is an intellectual game. Business is an intellectual game. It requires the use of your intellect, not your emotions. Even relationships should not be approached from an emotional point of view. Now, I know this sounds wrong, but think about this. Those who have thriving and long-lasting relationships are not those who have the highest level of love. Now, love is important, but if you look at those who have actually separated, speak to anyone who has been through a divorce, or perhaps someone who has parted ways with someone they once loved, and they'll tell you that they were once in love, but during the process, something greater than love overshadowed the relationship and they had to part ways. Relationships that thrive are those that are founded on the understanding of the importance of wisdom in the relationship, knowledge and application, and continuous learning, having a level of temperament, perhaps having a level of patience. All of that comes by study, by practice. So emotions are not your friend when it comes to success. I'm going to say that again. Emotions are not your friend when it comes to success. In investing, you want to stay as much as you can away from emotions. As a matter of fact, when the rest of the market is fearful, that is when you're meant to be optimistic. When the market is optimistic, that's when you're meant to be fearful. In other words, there's a level of contrarian approach applied to investing, and successful investing simply means you've got to learn how to manage your emotions. Investing is an art. Creating wealth is a science. By combining the science and the art of investing, you can create success. But at the bottom line, success in wealth, success in investing has less to do with your intellect and you being great at talents and skills. It has more to do with you being able to manage your emotions. And your ability to manage your emotions often comes with your ability to sit down and ask yourself the right questions. And those questions will lead you on a thought path that will ensure that when the right decisions have to be made, that you're not emotive in your response, that you're coming to the answers and you're concluding on the answers logically. So let me bring this to a close by saying this. If you want to be successful, you need a key to success. And that key is critical thinking, is your ability to continue to ask yourself intelligent questions, argue either side of the question so that you can find out what works and what doesn't work. And if you can combine found from experience, whenever you've had an argument about a particular decision you want to make, when you combine why you shouldn't do it with why you should do it, it becomes very clear as to what the right decision should be. That process begins by thinking.